Turn that damn juice on!
Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. This is Inside Arkansas Live.
And welcome into Inside Arkansas Live here on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I'm your host, John Neighbors, alongside Curtis Wilkerson and Andrew Ellis, and appreciate each and every one of you for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon. Hope everybody had a wonderful weekend, which we're going to recap all the things that happened over the sports weekend, especially in Razorback land, whether it's basketball, football, baseball, all that great stuff. We're going to talk about it. And of course, we're going to get to the best and worst of the weekend presented by our friends over at Looper Auction and Realty. We'll have a little vibe check in the chat presented by Basis Health, a weekend recap presented by BetSaracen, have your Alumni Hall question of the day, and have a lot of fun talking about each and everything that happened over the sports weekend. But guys, how was the weekend for you, and how we feeling here on this Monday?
Oh, a little bit of a mixed bag. I tell you what, Friday and Saturday were awesome. Sunday was historically bad, but the way I see it, I took 2 out of 3, so I won the series. I'm a little bit better off than the Arkansas baseball team has been here recently, so I'll take it and move on to the week here. We're doing okay.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat, maybe. I don't know if Friday was a good day for me, so I think I might have lost the series. But I don't know. The Arkansas Razorback baseball team has had an unfortunate, a bad reaction to my mental stability. They've really shaken me to my core a little bit, and really, I mean the fan base. So yesterday was a tough day, but I'm shaking back. I'm not running from the adversity. I'm ready to hit it strong, and I'm happy I have my lads to lean on here today.
That's right. It's a new day. It's a new week. And there's always time to bounce back, and there's time to get better from it and everything too. And that's kind of been what the weekend was about, at least, where you had, of course, Razorback baseball, which we'll talk about. You had the NFL draft, which was, Arkansas had 2 guys drafted, which I know we'll get into, but also had a lot of storylines surrounding that. And, it was kind of with the basketball side, there's always some crazy stuff popping up, like Muss and Chad Baker-Mazara ended up being together. What a match made in heaven that's going to end up being. But, it was a little bit quieter on the basketball side, but also stuff like that where it's not directly connected with Arkansas. But, man, it does give me a good chuckle of like, wonder how that one's going to go.
Yeah, I've got a pretty good idea about how that's going to go. And it's, oh, man. It's going to be cinema. I'm going to be a lot more inclined to tune in to those Thursday 10 p.m. USC Big Ten games out on the West Coast, just because it's going to be must-see TV. I mean, it's guaranteed that there's going to be a meltdown publicly at some point, at least one. And if you're Muss and USC, like, you just hope that it's a little bit of the healthy variety, like what him and Mason Jones had, where they're screaming at each other, but it's like, you know what? It's okay. It's going to be wild, man. Somebody was asking me what that's like, and I was like, I don't know. It's kind of like, lighting a cigarette while you're pumping gas, except you drop your lighter in the puddle of gas that you spilled. It's going to be a very volatile situation over there. But on paper, they got a pretty damn good backcourt between him and Rodney Rice, and then hopefully the Arenas kid, if he's able to get healed up and everything. But my goodness, I didn't see that coming.
They need to bring in some just absolute mature, stable Trey Wade type mentalities and like just personalities on that team to even it out, because you've got a lot of crazy over there. And so, yeah, you need some calm, strong, silent types to come in and fill the void over there at USC.
Yeah, I just want to see there at least be a fly on the wall of what some of those locker room interactions are like and what it could end up being. There's potential there for a lot of fireworks, which it's fun watching from afar. It's not in your program necessarily, and who knows, maybe it ends up being great, but still, it's one of those things where it's like, I'm glad it's over there, but it still should be fascinating. So, those are the things too, and obviously with Razorback basketball, I know that I guess the final, some people are coming out with their final rankings, and people were talking about the fact that some of the rankings dropped, and you had. For some of the players that Arkansas is getting, I guess both of those players. Then you had, of course, like Nate Amon jumping up to number 2 in the country. Between that and then the NFL draft, man, it's just a lot of people getting really upset and fired up about what people think about certain players or where they rank them and how they do them. But that's what kind of reminds me of just how much fun offseason can be. And those are 2 great examples of it, of just anytime it's a list or a draft or anything like that, the angst, animosity, furious nature, frustrations from everybody from all sides just really comes out. And yes, it does matter but it's not like the wins and losses on the field. And that's also something that I really enjoyed by the weekend, is just sitting back and watching the outrage and outpouring of anger from not just mainly football and NFL draft, but even from like basketball and some of the rankings there too, man. People just get fired up over it all.
Well, with those basketball ranks, I mean, honestly, we're getting to the dog days here, right? Like I'm starting to learn that now on the Pod at the Palace. So we're having to get a little bit more creative and branch out. We can't do the roster talk every day because for a lot of teams across the country, it's pretty much done with the exception of a piece or two. There's only so much you can say. It's peak clickbait season for those that cover college basketball. And you know who clicks? Arkansas fans. Piss them off and you'll get your engagement. And that's exactly what I saw with that On3 stuff. There's really no other explanation for having a guy, and I'll just use Acuff as the example. And I'm going to talk in depth about this on the pod for tomorrow. But how do you go from being the consensus #1 ranked point guard in the country to outside of the top 20? And all you did was, since the last rankings update, take your team to Geico Nationals and then get invited to all of the prestigious showcase events because your accolades were that high. That's it. That's all he did. So yeah, that part of it is crazy. And yeah, the draft stuff was insane. My favorite part of it all, did y'all see KFC hit up Shadeur Sanders on that tweet?
That was great.
KFC, like the chicken?
Yeah. It said they got turned down 1,009 times before they figured out their secret recipe. And sometimes a Sanders just has to cook for a little while. You just got to let him cook.
Wow, I like that a lot. I have a lot of Sanders takes, but I think I was thinking about it. There's a lot I have for best and worst of the weekend. Like I a lot. And so I'm trying to pace myself on today's show. I've got gems though throughout. So everybody has to stay through the whole time.
Oh yeah. We're dropping those teasers because I'm sure it's going to be a lot of those things that get discussed and talked about, because there is a lot of hot takes getting thrown around for everything like that. But yeah, so I mean, it was a weekend that had some different things from outside the state of Arkansas, but specifically in the state, seeing obviously getting 2 kids drafted into the NFL. I forgot which day we talked about it last week, where we were like, who's going to have more draft picks, the Razorback football team in the NFL or the Razorback basketball team in the NBA? And Curtis, I think you said it'd probably be the same amount. Well, looks like that would be the case because only 2 guys got drafted. And just like we all thought, Isaac TeSlaa, the first one taken, when in the middle of the year last year, like, hey, that's going to be the first Razorback taken in the NFL draft. But shout out to him going to the Lions, which is a cool story. But also shout out to Landon Jackson going to the Bills. 2 picks between each other there in the 3rd round. So really cool moment, really cool situation for them.
Yeah, that's awesome. I did not see that coming, man, with TeSlaa. As we got closer to it, you were starting to think, wow, like he's probably legitimately going to get drafted here, but to go that high, that was surprising and awesome, and it really makes you wonder about Arkansas's wide receiver situation, some of the decisions over there last year. But that's hindsight stuff. I don't want to do that too much, but that was really cool. And then seeing that with Landon, I won't talk about the whole thing because I'm sure that's going to come up a little bit later. But what I will say is it's just crazy to me, and like we cover these guys, it's a little bit different. Because you see him all the time when you're at practices or press conferences or whatever. But for me, and I don't know Landon like that by any means, but he's basically been my neighbor. Like he's lived like 2 blocks over from me for the past several years. And to think that we are, because of one phone call and everything that he did to get that phone call, obviously, but like going from living in my neighborhood to just being a multi-millionaire, just boom, just snap of a finger. And I'm like, dang, this dude's, he's doing all right for himself, but we all got to start somewhere. It's motivation.
Yeah, no, that's sick. You were talking about Darius Acuff, and you were like, all he did in the rankings update, like there was this time period, and all he did was like crush everything. You want to talk about crushing a time period since Isaac TeSlaa's season ended? I'll even say since the regular season ended, because he really did well in the bowl game, which I thought was a big deal in the moment. He crushed the draft process in terms of the combine, the pro day, the interviews. Ran the crazy 40, had clearly took that process seriously and crushed it, impressed a lot of NFL teams, and ends up being the highest drafted one. Didn't play a ton this past year, played like 30 snaps a game, controlled what he could control, and ended up being the top drafted Razorback. That's pretty awesome. Surprised about Andrew Armstrong. I think we were all, I don't know. I think, it's not like we thought this dude was going to be a first rounder, but like, I thought we were all on the same page for like 2 years that this dude was a draft pick, gonna have a legitimate career in the NFL. I think he's gonna play more snaps than a ton of receivers that got drafted ahead of him.
Yeah, I do too, and I'm happy for anytime you have a situation where you're going to get drafted, it's a big deal. But the fact with TeSlaa going back home to Michigan and the team that he rooted for as a kid growing up in the Lions, like that's just the odds of that happening are extremely rare. And so for that to happen to him, and I know, we'll play the videos and all that too later, but it was a cool moment for them. And and some of the free agents, which we'll give you an update on all those too for Razorbacks. They have opportunities, man. They may not have got drafted, and maybe in some cases should have been drafted, but they're going to have their opportunities to get into that. But also, speaking of football, I'm going to bring this up. I know people are probably tired of hearing about it, but since the last time we talked, there has been some updates with this whole NIL collective, Arkansas Edge, demanding money and all that stuff since last time we talked to you on Friday, folks. And of course, Brandon Marcel, there's been other people that have been on this, but Brandon Marcel's done a really good job on CBS Sports, kind of putting it all out there. But it's gotten to the point to where now they have, that's Arkansas Edge, have hired noted sports attorney Tom Mars. And Tom Mars has been a lot, and I think that it's been also something to where he doesn't get into cases, or he doesn't take on cases that are not going to end in wins. So the fact that he's going to be the one pursuing the collective, or pursuing the contract that was signed to get the buyout money. So you had that development. You also had the other player that we found out of who it was that they were sending a demand letter to, and that was Desmond James, former wide receiver, who was the standout wide receiver for Arkansas in the Texas Bowl against the Texas Tech defense that had walk-ons on it. But they're trying to get something from him in that situation. And also Darren Heitner, who is the one representing Desmond James, had a very interesting take and statement. As when this came out, he said, quote, "My position is that the buyout clause in the agreement is unenforceable. As written and applied under Arkansas state law, for liquidated damages to be valid, they must reasonably estimate potential damages and apply when actual damages are hard to determine. Here, since Desmond James received no payment and the agreement was terminated just a few days after execution, Blueprint Sports suffered no harm. Thus, the clause appears to be a penalty rather than a fair estimation of damages, making it unenforceable." So anyways, had some interesting developments there with this whole situation, and what's going to end up playing out. Still don't know, but it's just so funny how every day I feel like little small, minute details come out from this whole crazy story that we've been talking about and dealing with.
I feel like we went through, whether it was on the air or just talking amongst ourselves, like, I don't know, half the Razorback roster that's left, and did we ever bring up Desmond James?
No, because they said it was a freshman, and he was not
right.
He was, they said it was an incoming freshman. It was not a redshirt freshman outgoing who's really a redshirt sophomore for this upcoming class.
Right. Yeah. Because that when I saw that threw me, but then right away I was like, I could kind of see it though. And I wonder what it was. And I haven't been able to read up on all of it yet, but did he have the big breakout moment against Texas Tech and they like immediately tried to get him a new deal then and he signed it and then he dipped, or was it from before? Like, I almost feel like they had to have renegotiated something after he had that big breakout, right?
That statement said it was like days before he entered the portal.
Yeah, okay. So
they were like, it was only a couple days. We had just signed this deal that didn't say anything about, whatever. And I think that's so it was after the bowl game. They renegotiated and like, oh yeah, we got him on this deal. And then his agent was like, no, this deal sucks. Let's get out of here.
With every yard he got in the Liberty Bowl, there was 100 more people tweeting like he's showcasing for the portal. He's out of here. One more catch and he's out of here. And everybody was right the entire time. And Arkansas knew it. And so they put that thing in place and had a little bit of safeguarding there. And look at them now. Razorbacks.
Don't you hate it whenever the hate wins?
Yeah.
When your biggest fears are realized, it's horrible.
Yeah. I mean, I was not necessarily surprised by any of that, but it's just one of those things that, they're going to get their money back? We don't know. And does it really matter? I don't know. But I'm just really hoping that people see this and can use this as a precedent of like, maybe this opens it up for other schools to pursue it. Or maybe it makes, not just for like, oh, the hammer that, but also for kids who are in the portal or whatever, or trying to get in the portal, maybe think ahead to like, okay, if I sign a deal, then I'm going to have to adhere to that deal, but maybe I wait. Maybe I take a step back. Maybe we negotiate. As I don't know the situation with Desmond James, but it wouldn't surprise me at all if, like you guys were talking about, they had that big breakout game. They're like, hey, here's your offer. You've been great in that game. Here you go. And he's like, oh, heck yeah, man. This is a lot more money. Here we go. Yeah, thanks. Absolutely. Just signed it. And then his rep was like, oh, wait, dude, you could have gotten so much more money. In fact, give me a second. Let me go and see what we got. And then he gets better offers or whatever. He's like, hey, here you go. And he's like, well, shoot, man. Yeah, I'll just go there. Like, it could have been something as simple as that. And because of all the ignoring of these contracts and that people deem unenforceable, that's what they looked at. Because as the attorney put out, he admitted that, yeah, they broke the contract, but he didn't get paid any money up front or didn't get paid the money yet. So he doesn't owe anything. It just seems to be a penalty. I was like, yeah, that's kind of the point of a buyout in a contract.
Maybe you should consider reading the fine print next time. Yeah. I mean, if it's clearly stated in there and you violated the terms of the agreement, you violated the terms of agreement. It doesn't matter if you haven't got your end of the deal yet, and you're being penalized. It sounds to me like you got fleeced in the negotiations. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, as someone who has never read the terms and agreements, I can understand, both parties here. Like, that's tough. Who would have thought that you would have to read that one day?
Crazy.
Yeah, because I know we don't know how much money it was for Desmond James, but I would just assume that Arkansas is not pursuing that and putting out a demand letter for him unless it's at least some money of note. Like, I would think, unless they're just being petty and being like, hey, if it's like $10,000 or something, hey, you better give it that back. Maybe it's that case. But it does make me wonder, and who knows, maybe we won't find this out, but are these the only two players that they signed a deal with like this that broke it, and this is why it's coming out? Or have there been more players that signed this deal, and whenever they've broken it and entered into the portal, whatever buyout numbers or whatever things that needed to be they were penalized for, they paid back, and that's why there was no demand letters? I'm wondering if that's the case.
I think that this is a fairly new phenomenon, and so I wanted to pull this up because I saw it a couple times from Transplanted Text, and he said, why go after Desmond James if not to avoid selective enforcement of buyout clause on Madden when several players have failed to fulfill their NIL obligations? So anyone who's fallen under a similar contract to what Madden wound up agreeing to there, that hasn't, fulfilled their end of the bargain there, you have to, for that very reason. You're right. But this has not been like something that's been going on the entire time that NIL has been a thing. A lot of schools are just now starting to put these safeguards into place with the rev sharing and all this other stuff that's coming about. It's like it's trying to get out ahead of it a little bit. This buyout clause stuff is, I'm not going to say it's 100% isolated to the this recent portal cycle for basketball and football. But I don't think you could go back a year or 2 years and find too many examples of those. So it might only be just a small handful of cases for Arkansas specifically.
Which also, I guess that by that logic, that means that it really could be for Desmond James, not a ton of money, but they kind of have to go after him. Like they say when the NCAA is mad at Kansas, they crack down on some random school or whatever. It's like Desmond James is kind of getting caught after here because they're like, well, we're going after this big fish. We kind of have to go after some small fish as well, just to kind of, like he's saying, the selective and all that. But yeah, do you want to be this school though that's suing all the players?
That's the question, man. That's the question. Because
is Arkansas the feds? That's what I'm getting at here. Is Arkansas the feds?
Yeah. Do you want to be that school that, because everyone's going to have negative recruiting against you? And is it so stupid? Because I am full agreement with Arkansas in this. Like, they're doing the right thing. But at the same time, everyone else is going to be like, hey, if you go to Arkansas and you even have a thought that you're going to go somewhere else, they're going to come for you, and they're going to come for your family, and they're going to sue you, and then you're going to be in court. Your parents are going to be in the poorhouse. Like, they are going to go over the top with this. And you're going to be like, if you come here though, if it ends up not working out, we won't make you pay anything back. We won't do that to you. So it's like, I get it. It's the right thing to do. At the same time, I've thought about that too, Andrew. I'm like, I don't know if I want to be that school.
I don't know if right thing to do is the right term here, but like, it also makes sense. Like, if I were, recruiting for Ole Miss or whoever, that would be like a very easy one of like, yeah, I would start painting that narrative for sure. And I agree with your assessment that it's unfair.
It's kind of funny. I've probably had close to half of the SEC, like colleagues who are on the beat or whatever from other SEC schools, DM me or text me or whatever, just kind of sneaky, like, hey, low key, glad it's not us, but good luck. Like, really hope you guys win this, because it's kind of precedent that probably needs to be set, but you don't necessarily be the one setting it kind of deal. But yeah.
Well, especially against the Iamaleava thing, which we've maintained all along. Like that's a stance where like we joked that like Hunter Yurachek finally found one, like a PR battle he could easily win because everybody is anti Iamaleava right now, and so that was kind of a layup for Arkansas. And so, but then now that it's Desmond James, and if it starts really becoming a thing, then it's like okay,
yeah. Well, it's like I don't want to paint it to where it's like Hunter Yurachek standing out in 10 Minute Square with his hand in front of the tank, like being the one guy out there that's trying to fight for a losing battle here. But I mean, that's the thing is like he's trying to hold people accountable for the contracts, which that's the part of it that I was saying Arkansas is right in, because I believe that if you sign a contract for something and there are consequences for that, if you break it, then you should have to pay. That should be a standard for everybody. But it's like, we can have the argument of whether or not that's the right approach to have, like to have that buyout language and everything too. But again, it's also like, man, if Arkansas in football was spending a ton of money, like millions upon millions of dollars, and they were putting together the highest level of roster, then maybe that would also make me feel better about it too. Because it's like, okay, well, they could have given that to somebody else that was, just as good, that could really be a game-changing player. But then at the same time, it's like, you spent that on the guy who's probably going to be third string quarterback this season, and who knows if he would even stay another year. So, I'm torn on a lot of it, but that was definitely something to where between that and then also now the state of Arkansas, you're not having to have income or pay income tax on NIL deals, which people were fired up on.
It's interesting. And so I was reading up on that, and I'm trying to get some more information, but the way the actual language in the bill was that like the payments that are going to come from the U of A, like the rev share and everything. But I don't know if that applies to like businesses who are getting into NIL contracts with players or whatever, because if they're not having to pay tax on that, like, doesn't that kind of screw over the business in a way? Like, because a lot of them do that because they can write certain things off or whatever. I don't know. It's confusing, but at least every penny that comes from the U of A, like they're not subject to tax. And that's a good thing because, it's a lot closer than to what you see is what you get. Like what you're offered is what you actually receive. And then once you get into the clearinghouse, where they're going to be trying to determine market value for people or whatever, the market value for a particular deal or a particular player will vary based on the market that you're in. So you could probably get more money. It's not going to go as far in a huge ass market, a big city or whatever, compared to what you're going to get in Fayetteville. But you can also turn that around and say, it's not just, you can get more bang for your buck here because cost of living or whatever, but hey, you're also not going to have to pay tax on it. So it's kind of an advantage for Arkansas student athletes. But I know a lot of people, from my comments, and we talked about it a little bit on the pod, are ticked off because they're like, dude, I got to pay taxes on everything that you know what I mean? Like everything that I earn. And then the only reason all this is possible is because I'm also buying tickets and buying merch and supporting the program and everything else. So it's a very interesting dynamic that we're getting into here.
Do you think Desmond's agent considered the California state tax whenever he, shipped him off to LA to go play at UCLA? You think that was part of his equation? I saw Caleb Presley interviewing Luka, and he was like, yeah, it's really the state tax out here in California, man. It's a lot. He's like, would you ever consider playing somewhere that didn't have a state tax? Luka was like, I know what that's like.
Yeah, because I think there's like 9 states total in the country that don't have state income tax, and I know Arkansas has been trying to with the governor and everything, trying to get to that point. So maybe this is just the first step of it all. But yeah, these are just the things where the whole opening up the door of NIL and all those things where you never thought you'd have to talk about tax regulations and everything for college athletics and what that means for paying players. But that's where it's at, and that's what is important. Yeah. So, but we'll get to your chats, folks, and do a little vibe check presented by our friends over at Basis Health, where they're changing the way healthcare is delivered by providing that mobile medical visits to the comfort of your very own home, which is important because you like staying at home. You don't want to wait places. You don't want to go and drive into the doctor's offices and wait there when you could just be waiting at home. And that's what they're going to do for you, where a doctor will come to your home for all your urgent care, your primary care, IV hydration, and so much more. It's Basis Health. They are here and where you ever need them the most and when you ever need them the most. Learn more at basishealth.org today. And you can check him out. We appreciate our guy Dre for making it possible and partnering us with us here at Inside Arkansas. Okay, so a few of your chats. Hey, get to our guy Quinn. Look at this. Appreciate the super chat. Quinn says, sorry, haven't been here in a couple of weeks. I'm here to counsel Andrew and the Arkansas fan base. Free therapy with Quinn.
It's crazy that you ducked us through all the fun of the Chad Baker-Mazara conversation, and now he's off to Muss, and here you are, you know? We could have had a lot of fun together, man.
He did check up on me on Twitter, and he was like, hey, man, what the hell's going on with Arkansas baseball? But, you know, I have no doubt that when Arkansas goes to Omaha, he'll be one of the first to congratulate, and I appreciate that. And hey, we might see Auburn there. Who knows?
Yeah. Could happen, because he also said in another super chat, he said Chad Baker-Mazara could be owing us money. He signed a contract that was $1.4 million. So,
well, that's today's big subject.
That's Eric Musselman's problem.
Yep. I was trying to think of if there was that owed, because I was talking to Taylor Korn about it too. It's like if it's owed and he has that buyout in it, is that something that Muss, knowing how insane Muss is, he's like, I'll pay it right now. It's just like, you telling Danielle, hey, honey, that vacation we're going to go on, we're going to have to wait. Because I have to pay for Chad Baker-Mazara. We got to get that in. I don't know who's paying in. Maybe they got somebody, but still, I just really hope for the most ridiculous part or ridiculous story that could come up with my head to be true. And that'd be really funny if Eric Musselman wrote a check to Auburn and Bruce Pearl. Think about that. You know how much that would piss him off having to write a check to Bruce Pearl? Man, that'd be rough.
Yeah, the legal battle between Muss and Chad Baker-Mazara is going to be crazy. And Bruce Pearl, like all there at the same courtroom. I want to see that drawing.
Oh man, yeah,
that'll be better than the steroid hearings.
Oh yeah, Would Muss wear a suit to court? That'd be the biggest question.
Yeah, he would.
Not. I don't know, man.
He wore one to his USC press conference, didn't he?
He did. And it just didn't look right, did it?
Mm-hmm. No, that's what I'm hopeful for. But let's see a few of the chats here, folks. We appreciate everybody chiming in with us and hanging out with us and everything too. Let's see. David wants to know: did the players ever get actual money from the university? At this point in time, no. Wink, wink. But they will be.
Yeah, about to say they
will be with the revenue sharing. It'll happen.
So, that was another. We saw that NIL bill got amended in Arkansas, and everybody was stuck on the tax thing, as they should have, because that was the biggest part of it. But the other two factors was it builds in now the protections for the university to be able to make those payments directly, which they're going to have to once you get into the rev share stuff. And then it just kind of doubled down that these NIL payments and everything are not going to be made public records. So it was an L for the pocket watchers out there who aren't going to get the accurate numbers that they were hoping for by being able to Google it. I'm sorry that that's the case, but you're going to have to listen to the made up numbers instead.
Also, Big KG says revenue sharing is going to kill 10,000 scholarship players scholarships across the NCAA June 1st.
Oh, it's interesting. Because that's the big sticking point right now with that judge. What's her name? Judge Wilkin or whatever. Like the reason that they're having to go back to the table with this is because she didn't like the roster limit stuff that they were doing. And I was reading something. Hang on, actually, I can just pull it up real quick and read it. And it's going to get kind of interesting here. So I'm just going to read this paragraph real quick, but says figuring out grandfathering will be easy to figure out for athletes who are still enrolled at their current school, whether they're cut or not, currently in the transfer portal looking for a new home or not. And so what she's saying here, Judge Wilkins' order doesn't just point to the harm imposed on athletes who are still at their original school. So it's like, hey, we don't have room for you. You just can't play here anymore. And so part of what she's saying is like they should be able to get their spot back. But per her order, she sees irreparable harm caused by the settlement's roster limits for athletes still on the rosters, but also for athletes who were on a roster but were removed from the roster in the last several months because of the premature implementation of the settlement agreements. Like they've been trying to get out ahead of it. And basically what she's saying is if people hit the portal and couldn't find a home, then they should be able to come back and have a spot at their old school. Or if they transferred somewhere else and they didn't want to, they should be able to come back if that's what they wanted to do. And I just don't know that. I don't know that that's going to be a thing. And then the NCAA is arguing basically that scholarships fall under the purview there, but not roster spots. Like they could come back and their scholarship or whatever, but they wouldn't be able to be on the team. The whole thing is a freaking mess, man. It's crazy. And so like, I think it's still going to get passed eventually here, but there might be more hurdles that they have to get through for all this because it's nuts.
Yeah, it is crazy just to try to keep up with it. And those are the little details that sometimes you kind of forget of how it's going to impact like other sports and other things and scholarships. I'm not saying this is a direct correlation, but I always think back to I'm not trying to get political either. But, you think back when people were like, hey, you got to have minimum wage get raised up to this amount. It's like, it sounds great and everybody wants it and it should happen. But guess what? All these companies that are going to do that, we're paying minimum wage workers. Well, they're going to find different ways, whether it's going through AI or having technology replace that. And so that's the collateral damage that you may have in some of these policies where, yes, players need to be paid. Yes, this revenue sharing thing is great. Yes, all of this. But there could be a lot of people and players and students and everything impacted by that aren't these big money maker. Like, if you're thinking about a D2 school, their baseball program, like, is it going to impact them? And is going to impact all these other places with scholarships and the scholarship limitations that are getting put out? Like, there's just so many things that it could really impact to where we really won't know until we get to that point. But I appreciate them at least trying to get ahead of a lot of things. I just don't know, like you said, Curtis, if that one thing is going to be the one that fixes it or is going to even work.
Like, what if they went to Melo Sanchez for an example, and it was like, hey, you're welcome for the Sweet 16 experience. Go back down to D2, man, or low D1 or whatever, and figure it out. But we need this spot. And then this Judge Wilkin here is like, hey, you guys were prematurely making these moves or whatever. If we're gonna do this, then you're just gonna have to, like this is they can get their scholarship back or whatever, and then you're not able to get a player because you got to bring these dudes back if they want to come back. The whole thing is crazy, man. There's always a disconnect. There's always a hang up, man. Like negotiations are never easy. It's going to be wild. Bigger deal with football, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. And I know baseball is really worried about it too, because, they typically bring in 55 people for fall practice, a lot of which are guys that are just not getting any scholarship money, not getting any NIL money, just there to be there. They're not going to be able to do it with now these scholarship and these roster limits. And so I know Dave's been not looking forward to that. Like this past fall, they were like really enjoying it because they were like, we're never going to be able to have a fall like this again. It's going to, we're everybody that we bring in, you're here. Like, and you ain't going nowhere. You're not going to JUCO. No, Crowder, we're sorry.
Yep, you're here for the long haul. A few more chats here too, because I know we'll have your Alumni Hall question of the day here in a little bit. But let's see. Also, Austin from work was saying, do you guys think they did Armstrong dirty? Are you talking about the NFL? Are you talking about Arkansas? Like who would do Armstrong dirty in this regard? I have to know more.
But. I don't think they did him dirty in terms of like
there's collusion.
Yeah, like banding together to wrong the man, but I think he should have been drafted. Maybe people are overdoing it with the combine results and everything like that. To me, if and he's not a small guy either. It's like he's got some of the physical traits there, but if you are arguably the best receiver in the SEC, you're at least worthy of a draft pick. I'm really surprised that somebody didn't take a flyer, and it wouldn't even be that much of a flyer in my opinion. But yeah.
Yeah, no, I was definitely surprised. I don't think there was like I don't think anybody did there was like a disservice done in actuality. But sometimes though, if you are drafted late, there's sometimes people say you would almost rather go undrafted free agent because you get to kind of talk to different teams and pick your destination and feel which situation might be the best for you to make a team. And so there is something to that. So it might end up working out well for him. And he's the type of guy that obviously is not going to, he's an overachiever every single step he's been. So I'm assuming he's going to continue doing that. It just makes his story even better. So who knows? Maybe it would have been a worse situation had he been a 6th, 7th round pick and gone somewhere that maybe wasn't actually the best situation for him.
Yeah, the thing is, I think what blows at my mind, everybody else's mind, because there's something about it, like I don't care if I'm not saying you have to be a 1st round pick, but like you said, if you lead the SEC in receptions and in receiving yards, granted, he only had 1 touchdown, but it's still stupid. But if you lead in both those categories and you are a bigger wide receiver, for no one even to take a 7th round pick on him, like when you led the SEC, that's like leading the SEC in passing yards and completion percentage in passing yards. Like, I'm not saying he have to be a first round pick if there's some other instruments, but you're not going to draft him in the 6th round when he led the toughest conference and the best conference,
Right.
at least one of the top conferences in a statistical category, 2 major ones. That the thing was what was mind blowing to me. I didn't think he was going to be a top 2 or 3 round pick, but to not even go in the late rounds, not even be Mr. Irrelevant, that to me was mind blowing.
That's what kills me. And then the unpaid scouts on Twitter, they're all just like, well, but he's really it's his route running, it's his route running. Hips aren't quite a little slow in and out of his breaks. So yeah, duh. What are you guys surprised about? Doesn't matter. At some point, production has to matter, especially at the highest level of college football. The dude should have been drafted 100%, no question in my mind.
Yeah. And it's just how it is. Like when, the drafts, every pro sport is so shifted towards age, which is crazy because there was a 2nd round QB that was 26 years old that got drafted. But it's just really hard, especially at a position like receiver where it's all like tool based. These NFL teams view these dudes as just numbers. It's all about athleticism and stuff that you can project. And so a 22, 23-year-old Andrew Armstrong, who didn't have the flashiest pro day, he's that type of guy is going to get overlooked, and it just kind of sucks. But we see guys like him. He's like built in a lab to be an undrafted free agent that spends 7 years in the league. Everything about him and his story, his makeup, his body type, his consistency. Like he was like, I'm like more confident in this undrafted free agent playing snaps in the NFL than pretty much any I can remember come out of Arkansas, frankly.
Yep. And we're not just saying that because Mama and Papa Armstrong watch our shows all the time. We're not just saying that, but shout out to y'all because it's awesome. We're happy for your son. He'll go do some great things down there in Miami. So we appreciate that. We'll continue to get to some of your chats. We'll have best and worst of the weekend coming up as well. But I did want to get to our Alumni Hall question of the day presented by our friends over at Alumni Hall. If you go to Alumni Hall, you'll be able to see all the great Razorback apparel, everything you could possibly want. We always love going there. We're going to be back there doing a live show the Friday of the Tennessee series. So the final regular season series for Arkansas that Friday at noon will be at Alumni Hall, 3417 North College Avenue. Shop them online at insidearkansas.com/Alumni Hall. Use that code HOGS20. You get 20% off your purchase. So check them out today. It's Alumni Hall, the ultimate Razorback shopping experience. Razorback baseball, they have lost their 3rd straight SEC series for the first time since 2016. They lost to Florida where they lost game 1, was able to come back and shut them out in game 2. Couldn't get it done in game 3. So there have been a lot of things. And Andrew, shout out to you because I'm sure you've been having to see a lot of the shrapnel from all the crazy fans that are out there just throwing each and everything they want to complain about to you. But I simply asked the question out on the Twitters of what is the most concerning thing for you right now? Because if you're not concerned at all and you think everything's hunky-dory, I have a problem with that. But I also have a problem with everybody just thinking the world is coming to an end. Like you can be in the between. But between these 3 things, and you can add a 4th if you'd like, starting pitching, situational hitting, or coaching pitching decisions as far as when to pull somebody, when to put all that. As of right now, 54% of you say starting pitching is your biggest concern, with 35% of you saying situational hitting and 11% of you saying pitching coaching decisions. So, but do you agree with the fan base and where their concerns lie right now?
So starting pitching dominated yeah, I agree with that. I mean, it has to be starting pitching. I think what's concerning about it is that there's nothing really on paper or really just in theory or anything that makes sense as to why Arkansas starting pitching isn't at least average to above average, like not at least pretty good. I mean, you just look at Zach Root. He's a guy that is, top 30 to top 50 on every single draft board in the country, no matter the analyst, no matter what the outlet. You look at his fastball, 95, 96, got a good little bit of life on it. He throws a cutter behind it. He's mixed his speeds well. He throws 2 different breaking pitches, slider, curveball. He has a changeup that's really good against righties. He's actually better against righties. And he's also got experience. He's thrown 6-7 inning games in multiple years in his career. He's pitched in the postseason. It doesn't make sense why he is not, why his ERA is 4.5 right now. And even if you look at his numbers a little bit, his strikeout rate's like even better than it was at ECU. His walk rate's not that high. Opponents are hitting 232 against him, like not a crazy average, but it seems like every base runner he gives up crosses home plate. Every single ball in play against him finds grass somehow. It's like it doesn't really make sense. And it's really accumulated with, he's had 3 or 4 SEC starts that just have not gotten the job done. And it's kind of set the tone for the whole weekend. He's a guy that should pitch better, and I expect him to pitch better, but it really kind of all starts there. And I'm not trying to like put it like be like, hey, Zach Root, you're the one to blame. But it just like there's a lot of things like that. Like him and Landon Beidelshe's the number 1 and number 2 pitchers in the portal. Conceptually, it makes sense for those guys to be the starters. They just haven't pitched to the standard that the expectation we set, the expectation the baseball community set, and that the coaching staff said. And so it's like, I don't know. It's leading the team to ask questions that they probably didn't want to have to ask, especially not this deep into the season.
Yeah, it's been interesting to watch these guys. For me, it's almost, and I have a hard time answering that question because when I look at it, what I see, and I am not the overly trained baseball eye in here, but just I'm thinking about earlier in the season. I'm not just talking about when they were playing the cans, but like even early in SEC play, there were a lot of games where they were spotting teams a run or two right out of the gates, and you were just never worried about it. Like you're just confident that they were going to respond, do what they needed to do, make the plays, get the outs, have that situational hit. It's like all those things were always there, and they were just able to overcome it. But now, for whatever reason, and it's probably just because of the last 3 weekends, this is probably just a stretch. I mean, maybe they're playing some teams that are trending in the right direction. Although I'm not sold on that Florida team at all, but I almost feel like they're more bothered by game pressure now than they were a few weeks ago. Like almost like they're thinking about it. And you could even, I was actually out on a run and I was watching it for a while yesterday. And then I was like, well, I want to listen to Phil, and you could feel it through Phil's voice as he was talking. It was like, what's about to happen. Like this is momentum is in the wrong direction and it's going to keep trending that way. There's just a feel about it. And it might be a shitty pickoff throw that leads to some problems, or bobbling a double play ball, or like one thing here or there, to the point where you get the bases loaded there with the chance to do something at the end of the game yesterday. And you just kind of knew how it was going to end. And I just wonder if they're feeling it a little bit more right now than they were. That's part of the game, the momentum swings of a season, whatever, but they're more impacted by that now than they were early in the year when they were doing the same thing, getting down 3-0 in the first inning, and then they're still beating teams. Not so much right now.
No, that's spot on. And what's interesting is that I think about this Texas series coming up, which is going to be at home. I imagine that crowd is going to be spicy. And so you think, oh, that'll help them. It might not necessarily, because we've seen that in the postseason. That crowd gets tense when like you said, that momentum, you can kind of feel it building over the course of 5 to 6 innings, which every baseball fan, every sports fan, when your team gets eliminated, it all ends the same way every single time. Your offense goes cold and you can feel it kind of, and it happens to everybody. It doesn't just happen in Arkansas, but like you can feel it. That's what it felt like the other day. And like this Texas series, if they start, if they get down 3-0, they spot a team 3 runs, it's going to get so tense at Baum-Walker Stadium. They're going to that's a big mountain to have to overcome for this team. And you're playing the number 1 team in the country, which is a mountain in its own right. And so this is a massive test for this team. And that, if that doesn't prepare you for the postseason, when you're going to face all of this times 2, I think this is a very it couldn't be tailor-made to be a better postseason preparation situation. But here's the problem. They might get their ass whipped. You know what I mean? Like we were saying, hey, it'll be a great test for them. But then what if they fail miserably? Then what happens? And so it's that there's going to be some high stakes at Baum-Walker this weekend, man.
If you know how like Razorback fans, especially Razorback baseball fans are, they're just hanging on everything. And they have the highest of expectations because of the expectations that have been built by Dave Van Horn in this program. So I'm not saying that nobody should have the expectation to be great and to be the best, because you do have all what it takes to do that. But it's all about timing, man. And it's all about knowing what we know. And when you start off as good as you did in SEC play, granted, you didn't play a bunch of great teams. I mean, you beat Ole Miss, who's a solid team. Vanderbilt, solid team. But it's like you're flying high and you get to number 1 in the country and everything's hunky dory. And you knew you were going to lose an SEC series, and you lose that one to Georgia, where man, you were this close to winning it, and it goes and it just, oh shucks, well man, that sucks. All right, well hey, you're going to lose a series anyway, that's fine. And then you lose at home to Texas A&M. You're like, well, I didn't like that. That wasn't very fun, But the doubleheader and the weird weather and all that stuff, and then you lose to Florida, and I was like, what is happening? It's like it gets to that point to where, man, if you just get that final out against Georgia and you win that series, even that's the only play that changes. Not to say that everyone's all hunky-dory and happy, but that one play changes everything. Or even the last night or yesterday, I'm saying Arkansas would have won. But if that home run goes over, that was just a few feet away, for Keo Aloy, where it's a 3-run bomb. And that changes a lot of things. And they're just those little plays that mean so much and that can change so much. But it's just the matter of the fact that you've lost 3 in a row and you've lost 3 SEC series. And also that you have the 3 toughest teams left that are really good. And Texas being, 19-2 in SEC play, just on a roll. So, I get where fans are coming from. I get the concern, but glass half full. If you're going to play your worst baseball or play the worst of the season, now's the time to do it instead of the end. And also, if you get to the postseason and you make it back to Omaha, which I know is a big if, but if you do that, no one's even going to care or remember this 3 series losses that you've had. So,
yeah. I will say one thing Arkansas fans have figured out over the last few years is that winning series in the SEC is hard to do. Like it takes a lot out of you. Like you have to be really good each weekend to win series. And Arkansas teams have made a living the last decade finding ways to just win these super close series all the time. And in 2021, it felt like it took life and death every single weekend for them to win 2 out of 3 in an SEC series every single weekend. And by the end of the year, it's like, we're beat. We can't do this. We can't keep doing this, dude. We're hanging by a nut hair every single weekend. We can't keep doing this. And they finally, that pressure kind of mounted on them. And so we've seen Arkansas teams, like I think about last year, Florida came into Baum-Walker Stadium and everybody nationally was like, Florida needs this to make it to the postseason because they were like 4 and whatever in SEC play. They had done this horrible start, and Arkansas found a way to beat them 2-1 in game 1 behind a Hagen Smith gym, and they won game 2 on the Peyton Holt deep play. We made that crazy double play. Arkansas ends up winning that game like 6-5 or something like that, and then Florida won the game 3. But like it was a super close, super competitive series, and Arkansas found a way to win it in the regular season. And then that Arkansas team goes and chokes in the postseason. Florida goes on and makes it back to Omaha, a team that would like everybody. They thought that ended their chances to make the postseason. They go to Omaha, same as the Ole Miss team in 2022. And so it's like there's nothing like we know that in and of itself, dropping a series in the SEC doesn't disqualify you. And Arkansas's won those battles a lot, but it just sucks to see happen 3 times in a row. And so it's got to correct course at some point. Do you have a prime opportunity here against Texas? Just shut everybody. All this crap we're dealing with right now, just it all ceases to exist. You go out there and show up against Texas.
No doubt. What do the polls look like today? I haven't seen yet.
10, 11, like 10 or 11. I think Perfect Game has them 12, which they're right back to where they were before. D1 has them at 11. But it's funny. RPI has them at 5.
Go figure.
Make it make sense. Yeah, because I think it was D1 that showed that when they came out with their, which is makes sense, but when they came out with their predictions for the not Field of 64, whatever it's called, the postseason, they had Arkansas as the 11th seed and still hosting their regional. But again, you got 3 series left. If you win 2 of these 3, which is not something I'm going to bet on, but if you did, everyone's back and you're good. So, everything's fine.
Let's do this real quick. If you win 2 out of your 3 series, national seed, probably, right?
Yeah,
for
100%.
Sure.
If you lose 2 out of 3, probably not. You still host a regional, but not a national seed, probably, or maybe. I don't know.
They would be right there. That would be the first year to be right there on that 8 to 10 range, where it'd be like. And also, I mean, this is all hypothetical, but I think it would be like we'd find out on selection day if they're national seed or if they're just hosting a regional at number 10.
Right. Yeah. If they lose all 3. You think they still host though? Probably solid for that, or maybe not.
If they don't get swept,
I know
it doesn't seem like it didn't seem like a big deal, but the fact that they haven't been swept helps because their overall record is still 14-7. Yeah, our SEC record is still 14-7. So if they lost all 3 series, I guess they'd probably be 16, 17 wins. They probably wouldn't. They probably would just host.
Yeah,
yeah.
I mean, you can host at 16, 17 wins.
Right.
Yeah, that's what I was kind of thinking too. Like, yeah, if they went, what would that make them? 3-6 the rest of the way in SEC play. If they would also. I think they would have. I guess they would have won half their SEC series.
Yeah.
I guess that's true.
They still won. I guess they won. Did they win their first 4?
Yes.
And then lost their last 2, 3. And so it's like even if they just went 1 and 2, they would still. It'd be exactly what they did in 2018.
Yeah. Just get to Omaha. I don't care how it happens. Just get there.
I mean, look, the rules for the season are the same rules they've been the whole time.
Yep.
You just don't choke as a 3 seed at home. That's your one objective this season. Do not do that. And we can talk about the day to day, we can talk about whatever, and that's what we do on the Bombastic. But the rules have not changed. You cannot choke in the postseason. It's really where we're at.
No, you really can't. And I love this real quick from Transplanted Texan. He says D, all the above from the fan comments. Yeah, that's always my favorite thing is when I do a poll question and, I want people to say like, hey, what's the most or what's your priority or whatever. It's like all the above. It's like, hey, who's the key player this weekend? This guy or this guy? Both.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I will
Appreciate
it. I'll quickly get off and I will move on to other things. But I thought one of them was situational hitting, which is funny because last year, whenever they were like bottom 4 in runners in scoring position and all that, everybody was like, oh, it's because they have a bad approach and blah, blah, blah. And I was like, no, it's because they're bottom 4 in average. They're just a bottom 4 offense. Like, that's why they're bottom 4 in that stat. It's the same thing this year. Arkansas is the number 1 team in the SEC when in batting average with runners in scoring position. They're number 1 in the SEC in just batting average. Like, they're just that they just been, productive. Like, I don't really think it changes that much. The job and what you need to do when runners are on base, like, these guys know what to do. It's just a matter of if they can do it. And this team is better at doing it than they were last year. And so it's like, I feel kind of vindicated for that.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, don't tell them that because that's the main reason I went with those 3 choices because I'm like, I'm going to click on the final score graphic on Razorback baseball and I'm going to look at the most liked comments and I'm going to see which ones
situational hitting
votes and all that. And I'm like, boom, boom, boom. Those were the 3. Those are the knockouts. So yeah, that's what makes it funny is because I agree with you. And it's just something to where, again, people are going to be upset no matter what. Like there were people, I wish I could go back and find the tweet, but there was somebody just tweeting at me 3 times in a row about one player being in the lineup and how it was just, this is why they won't win the College World Series. I'm like, because of one player got put into the lineup in a game, like that's just
because Kendall Diggs played 5 innings the other day. That's why.
It was Kendall Diggs. Yeah,
he literally got pinch hit for in like his second at bat.
Yes, it's like just stop. Just I get it, you're upset, but at least try to be some rational logic when it comes to why you're upset. Because I'm okay with you being mad. Trust me, you lost 3 series in a row. I don't think anyone should just be like, hey, everything's fine, but. It doesn't have to be burn it down, just piss on the ashes when it's all done and just move on. It's like, it doesn't have to be that way. A lot of
premature victory laps that have been going on, which by the way, they were going on earlier in the season with other people who were like already being like, oh yeah, you see that home run in a midweek game? Told you, haters. Told you. It's like, that's stupid too. It's like we're like 6 weeks away from being able to do any type of victory lap.
Yeah, exactly right. But I tell you what, we'll go ahead and we'll get to your chats, but also get into our best and worst of the weekend, presenting our friends over at Looper Auction and Realty. Why wait months or even years to sell your home the traditional way? Because at Looper Auction and Realty, they offer a faster and smarter option where you can sell your home at an auction. An auction's a lot more fun, but it also has no repairs, no contingencies, no drawn out negotiations. You get to set the terms and the buyers compete. And you walk away with a firm closing date. Whether it's your home, it can be an estate, it can be an investment property, whatever it is, the auction method puts you in control, which, hey, listen, if it's our house, if it's our property, we want to make sure that we're in control of it and it gets sold fast. So call Looper Auction and Realty over at 479-996-4848. That's 479-996-4848. Or you can visit them at looperauction.com. It's Looper Auction and Realty, sold in 30. Closed in 30. So, okay, we'll go ahead and knock out the best and worst of the week. And I'll start with the best and throw it out there. But we talked about the situation with Arkansas and getting their kids drafted and the players that got drafted and all that good stuff. I wanted to play these because I love these videos and these are so cool. But I wanted to play these videos. First off, the fun one, the funny one, Isaac TeSlaa, in the moment he found out he got drafted.
Okay, yes, sir. How's it going? Thank you, Mrs. Ford.
So I love that video because all he said was, thank you, Mrs. Ford, because they all know it's the Lions. They all know who Ford is. And to see that reaction was a really, really cool thing. So love that from him. But also on the more emotional one, Landon Jackson, man, when he gets the call for the Buffalo Bills, this was just awesome, man. This was awesome.
How you doing, buddy?
I mean, come on.
That's good stuff.
How do you not get a little emotional about that? But shout out to them. I love those videos, and especially the Landon Jackson one where you get emotional. You're just like, you're getting an effing dog, bro. Like, that was such a great thing to say, man. That was awesome.
Yeah, that was really, really cool, man. Pumped for him. That was funny. I did not expect that to come, like he's overcome with emotion and everything. He's like, you're getting an effing dog. It's like, oh, wow.
Good stuff.
That was really good, man. Super happy for them. And all those guys, honestly, who are at least going to get an opportunity to go and compete and give it a shot. Your boy Hudson Clark, Eric Gregory. Who else? I mean, there were a bunch of dudes that got
Ty Broden.
Yeah.
Yep. You had actually got the list right here because it's the 8 Razorbacks there.
I'm glad you have it. Whew.
Yeah.
there were a few that
yeah.
You said Gregory
Andrew Armstrong to the Dolphins. Tyrone Broden goes to the Seahawks. Hudson Clark, no fly zone, goes to the Raiders. Eric Gregory to the Bengals. Jaquindon Jackson goes to the Jacksonville Jaguars. Cuddy Marquise Robinson goes to Baltimore. Keevy Rhodes goes to Jacksonville, and Nico Slaughter goes to Jacksonville. So a lot of Jacksonville reps down there.
Jacksonville, they love the Hogs, man. They got Monteric Brown, Cam Little. They're like, hey, let's go back to the well. They have
Matt
Chris
Jones started it all.
So.
Yeah, Matt Jones started it all when he was drafted by him. So they're the new Patriots. They love their Hogs down there in Jacksonville. So, but yeah, that was my best. Was those reactions and those guys because they deserve it, man. And they never caused any problems. They just went out there and played their best, especially with TeSlaa, dude. Like Lane Jackson's getting all the playing time, but it's not like TeSlaa just had all these stats and he was being featured a lot, but never said anything, never did anything, just kept doing his job. So congratulations and kudos to them.
Also, Finch, I just want to clear this up real quick. Armstrong they both signed deals with teams, undrafted free agent. Broden didn't get, neither of them got drafted though. Broden didn't get drafted.
Right. Yeah, I mean, those are that's clearly the goodest of the good, the best of the weekend for sure. How about Aaron Gordon with the his best attempt? Not as good of an attempt as Michael Qualls, but similar with the buzzer beater tip dunk there. Yeah. That was pretty cool. I love that stuff, man. And there's been some good drama in the NBA playoffs. Like I said, I usually just follow college so heavily that it takes me a minute to get into NBA mode, but been a good set of games here in the opening round. So I thought that was really cool. And then Andrew, I don't know if you had this or not, but you're probably going to appreciate it. But one of the guys we saw fight over the weekend, Malcolm Wellmaker, did you see? He did officially quit his job.
Oh, I didn't see he officially quit his job. We need to talk about this. You go ahead. Awesome. You go. I got Randy Brown. You do the Malcolm Wellmaker story.
Yeah. Well, and so what was he doing? Because he's got a day job, and a lot of these guys do, man. It's just kind of the situation they're in. Was he like pipe fitting or something? Is that?
Yeah, something like that. Like some type of welding in the realm of welding.
Yeah, which was probably making some pretty decent coin doing that. I mean, that's a trade where you can get paid, but just had an elite performance, man, in Kansas City. And got the dub. And then afterwards he was saying, hey, if I get the, fight of the night or whatever, you get a $50K bonus. If they decide that you get it. And he was like, if I get that, I'm quitting my job, bro. Like I'm just going to quit it. And then he got it. And then he quit. And I saw the tweet this morning. I don't know if he put it out on IG or whatever, but it was a screenshot of it. And he was like, officially quit my job because he made some money there. Now, was he the one or was that Brown? Which one of them was trying to fight in Atlanta?
Oh no, that's Wellmaker too. Yeah, he's trying to fight in Atlanta. So he's like 8-0, 9-0. That was his UFC debut there on the prelims, and he had won knockout in the Contender Series. Right. So he's like trying to rack up like 3 or 4 fights this year. Mm-hmm. He's trying to get after it.
He's from 2 hours away from Atlanta, and so he hopped on. He was like, "Hey, I want to get on that card. It's close to home or whatever." And then afterwards, Dana White was like, "Hell yeah." Hey, yeah, that was a great performance. People want to fight, we'll let them fight. So he might get that opportunity.
$50,000 also.
Yeah, $50K. Quit your job, and we're gonna let you fight in front of your family now. That's a pretty good night's work.
Yeah, I like that. Well, I'm not gonna do the full. Me and Curtis had such a brilliant day in Kansas City. Waking up at the crack of dawn at 9:00. That's what I call the crack of dawn, 9:00. And driving up there. It was a great time. The only video I'm going to make everybody watch is the Randy Brown knockout, because Randy Brown, I didn't realize this until that night, he's been in the UFC for like almost a decade at this point. He's been in there for a while, been a nice vet. He's been training out of Kansas City since 2021. So they were like, the crowd was going crazy for him. And John, how do I make it where it'll make us big or make the video big? Oh, here we go.
Thudding power. There's no about it. He's got to watch these knees, though. Brown buckled him with the right hook and sits him down almost. Oh, my goodness. Oh, and an uppercut.
You hear that roar? That was me.
Yeah, me and Curtis were like ringside right there. That's the joke. We were up. That was not a cheap ticket. I'm just gonna tell you that was it was a sold out venue. I think they said like 16,000 people. It was packed there in Kansas City.
I trust y'all on all the stuff that you guys just said. But I will say that I thought of y'all because I saw a highlight on social media. I think it may have been that one. But I was sitting there, I was trying to see if I could see y'all, and I didn't. So I was like, well,
you weren't seeing us from them cameras, buddy.
Also, by the way, our buddy, I guess what name should I say for our buddy Curtis? That's not Hazelwood. Should I say Eli?
Well, you just did. So yeah.
I think our buddy Eli, John, that you know, the guy that lost in the main event is like Eli's hero, like has his poster, loves this guy, loves his gym, loves all his teammates. And so we trolled him all night, being like, hey, your boy's about to get smashed. And then he ended up losing a decision. Had a fair performance, but like we trolled him the whole way home. It was great. There's nothing better than a hate watch.
Yeah. And he seems like a guy, and I like Eli, but it seems like a guy that it's kind of fun maybe to troll him a little bit, give him some crap.
It's good.
So I feel that. Worst of the weekend, this is low hanging fruit, but because I feel like everybody's talking about it. The Shadeur Sanders thing is the most absurd thing. It feels like I never am ceased to amaze how stuff like this happens. It's one thing to be surprised if someone drops in the NFL draft because we see it happen all the time. It's one thing to be saying like, oh, I feel like teams made a mistake or all that. But there was so much anger and rage from people like Mel Kiper and others because he dropped that I was like, this is beyond just you saying this. There's something else here. Like, are you being paid for? Are you like, what is going on here? And it just got to be nauseating. Like, it was just, hey, it couldn't. And then people are trying to figure out, well, how did this happen? Why did this happen? And all that. I was like, man, maybe it just happened because of the fact that, reports came out that some of the meetings didn't go really well. Maybe it was because they didn't want distractions. Because to me, that's a big thing that NFL franchises don't want is distractions. Maybe they didn't want the distraction of him being a backup and then being constantly asked about. Or maybe it was because Dion said that, there's only four teams that I'll allow him to go to. Like, maybe it's all this stuff can combine that scared people a little bit. I think he's talented for sure. And I think that he could end up being a great quarterback. I don't know if it's going to be at Cleveland, but just the rage that some people had in just trying to like fight the world for protecting Deion Sanders' son, Shadeur Sanders, was just really weird. Obviously, the prank call thing was really stupid, and that should never have happened. Because that's horrible. And I know, and especially ends up being the coordinator for the Atlanta Falcons' son. And I see that, and I'm like, man, that sucks. That's so stupid. But then I see real media people being like, that's not good enough. They should fire that coordinator. And I'm like, everybody relax. I have just never seen anything like it. Everything surrounding Shadeur Sanders has just been wild. And it was my worst of the weekend because, I don't know. Again, I feel like you can, like everything, you can have opinions and say it was a mistake that they dropped that low, or you can't believe that happened, or it was a surprise. But the emotions that some people had for no reason was really weird and uncomfortable. So to me, that was the worst of the weekend, just everything surrounding this story.
Yeah. Did you see the graphic of the Browns quarterback room?
Oh, dude.
Yeah.
So what is it? Flacco, Watson, Kenny Pickett, Dylan Gabriel, and Shadeur Sanders, I think, are the five. Good grief.
And Deshaun did massage Watson, man.
Dude, get Hard Knocks to the Cleveland Browns stat and don't even leave the quarterback room.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot going on there. Because that was another thing new. The Browns selecting Dylan Gabriel first. And then, hey, we'll get Shadeur Sanders too. It's just, what? Okay, sure.
I feel bad for Dylan Gabriel that he was the moment when everyone started really going crazy when they were like, oh, wow, yeah, now that Dylan Gabriel's going over him, and now he's going to be teammates with him. And I imagine both of them are not going to be able to survive long in Cleveland. But what's funny about Shadeur is that And by the way, that was what I kind of was planning on talking about for my worst of the weekend. So I'm just going to piggyback here with John. I'm going to piggyback as that's what teammate. That's what when you put two dudes on the podium, they're going to do that. One's going to say, well, to piggyback off what he said. But with Shadeur is like, you'd think, given that his last name is Sanders, that he's this like uber athlete, super toolsy prospect. He's like 5'10" and like runs a 5 flat 40.
Right.
Like, you know, it's funny about Dylan Gabriel, who's like a same kind of situation, like a small, not super toolsy, not a power arm, but like a savvy vet that played 9 years of college football. Shadeur is closer to that, and he's closer to like a game manager than he is like a game-changing athlete. As a prospect, like I think he's good enough to, you know, obviously have a spot in the NFL, be a backup, like do all this. You know, he's one of the top quarterbacks in the draft. He was a good college quarterback, a really good college quarterback. Well, like I don't think he's like this polarizing of a player. You know, like he's just kind of like a pretty good quarterback that had a nice college career and should probably play a little bit in the NFL. Like, I don't think he's this game-changing prospect. So it's so funny that like Mel Kiper just decided to defend the Sanders fan and was like, this is a travesty. This is blah, blah, blah. But like, we kind of know that teams, given the history of other polarizing guys like Tim Tebow or Kaepernick or whoever the hell, teams don't really like having a very popular, very polarizing figure as their backup. And that's not to say that those guys I just said, or that Sanders isn't good enough to be a backup in the NFL. Like he definitely is, but it's like, it's not that surprising him falling in the draft. And it's funny because he's like, if you watch him play and you didn't know his last name was Sanders, you would be like, oh, this is a solid, savvy 4-year college guy. You know, you would just be like, oh, I'm a pretty good player.
Yeah. Yeah. And to piggyback off your piggyback real quick. Sorry, Curtis, but just real quick. The Kiper thing, I thought he was joking when he was like, it just shows that the NFL's not evaluated quarterbacks for 40 years right. They get it wrong all the time. I'm like, my brother in Christ, you said Jimmy Clausen was going to be like the next coming. Like you're acting like you have gotten him 100% right. And that's when I was like, I'm out on you, dude. Like, what the heck are you talking about? When he's like, the NFL's been misevaluating quarterbacks for 40 years. And this is just another example. I'm like, you have too. You have missed so much for all that. And I just couldn't believe he was taking himself, and anyone took himself that seriously. It was just wild.
Well, dude, and I heard McShay, who like, you know, McShay has his hits and misses too. I don't think he's like the god of draft analysts or anything, but he was saying that Cam Ward would have been QB4 in last year's draft class. And like, you know, so if you think Sanders is the second or third best quarterback in this class, he probably would have been QB like 6 or 7 or 8 in last year's class. So he probably did have, from NFL teams, he probably did have about a 3rd, 4th round grade from a lot of them.
Mm-hmm. All right, Curtis, what's your worst of the weekend?
I got 4. On 3, their rankings sucks. It's bullshit. Those guys are idiots. The Bill Belichick interview,
dude, man.
Did y'all all watch that?
I missed this.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God.
You have to watch it. Like I want almost, Curtis, I wanted to play a clip, but I knew it would get hit because it's on CBS and they're
I know, same.
But dude, yeah. I haven't sat down and watched the entire thing, but the highlights, brutal. So yeah, that's a great worst of the weekend.
Yeah, that chick's crazy, bro.
Yeah.
She's crazy. She was like, they're doing this whole interview with him. It's talking about, you know, oh, well, why didn't you take an NFL job? You know, just like a bunch of different random questions. What happened with the Patriots, all that. And then got to talking about his relationship with her. And the guy was like, how did you guys meet? And you could see her across the room. She was like, we're not talking about that. And she was like injecting herself throughout the interview. And like, it was super awkward. He was wearing like the torn hoodie or like the torn sweatshirt and stuff. It was just, it was bad, man. It was cringeworthy. A bunch of NFL franchises are probably like, thank God, man.
Dude, I was going to say to her when she said that, like, we're not, and it was like evil sounding, like, we're not talking about that. Like, she was mad. I'm just saying, you know, you guys know more since you're spoken for, and I'm the single guy here, but I don't know. I feel like if your girlfriend or your wife was in the room and you were doing an interview in a major thing, and they asked, how did you and Hillary meet? How did you and Michelle meet? I feel like your girl would be like, oh, heck yeah, I love that. Like, they're going to talk about me and talk about our cool story and our romantic story and everything. So for her to take that approach, I'm just like, there's got to be something there, man. There's got to be a lot there that they don't want, that she doesn't want getting out.
She wasn't here for the beauty of the story, man.
You know, the owner in Major League, I guess it's the woman who gets it passed down or whatever. She's giving that kind of vibe where she's like, we're going to take this school and we're going to move it to Miami.
Yeah, I could see it. Yeah, she's one of, I don't know, man. Like, there's just a lot there. For one, I couldn't believe he agreed to do the interview. He hates stuff like that.
Really odd. Yeah,
Yeah.
the whole thing was awkward. I saw somebody in the comments say Aiden said that Bill looked like a hostage. He did. I mean, it was super uncomfortable. You should watch it because it's entertaining and cringy and it's fun to make fun of. But yeah, that was wild. And I guess, well, yeah, two more. One quick. Just I hate the after the fact admission from officials that they screwed something up. And so that irritated me in the Pistons Knicks game. It just reminds me, anytime I see something like that, I'm reminded of when that happened to Arkansas at Missouri. You should just never lose to Missouri in basketball. You did, and they had to apologize for that weird charge block call. So I wasn't crazy about that, but I figured that it was probably going to get confirmed while we were on the air, and it did. But Dame Lillard, man, tore that Achilles.
Yeah.
That sucks. I absolutely hate that because he had the blood clot situation that kept him out, and then he gets cleared, and he's yapping at Halliburton and everything. It's like, man, this is going to be awesome. And then comes back in there and Achilles gone right away. That's just brutal. I love Dame, man. He's so much fun to watch. Has provided some awesome moments. And honestly, like I think he's getting ready to turn 35, and now you got the blood clot thing, a torn Achilles. This could be it. Like, I don't want to end somebody's career prematurely, but that's a lot to come back from, man. And it just it stinks. Really good player.
Yeah, he's had a really great career, but it's one that, like, if you look back at when he was 29, 30, you probably would have expected it to go better than it has. And not to mean his individual success, because he's been balling. He's been averaging 30 and all this for all these years. But just they haven't been able to, they never were able to really put the best team around him in Portland. They kind of were stuck in that purgatory, couldn't quite get over the hump. And he was very adamant about staying in Portland for like several years until finally they were like, listen, dude, we're just tanking, so you got to go. And so then he finally gets his chance to be on a real competitive team with one of the best players in the world. And it's probably not going to overlap with his physical prime, and it sucks.
Yeah. And I know, like, you never want to see injuries, but man, Achilles, anytime it's an Achilles injury, it just makes me, because I had that, obviously I'm not Dame Lillard, but it's like I had that. I know exactly how that feels, and there's nothing worse, dude. It just sucks. So
that's when Kobe, that's when his career pretty much effectively ended. Like, he came back a little bit, but it was pretty much over after that.
Yeah, I can tell you this too. When I tore my Achilles tendon, I was not walking up to the free throw line to sink 2 free throws on it like he did. But I'm not Kobe Bryant. I know it's kind of crazy to think, but yeah, I'm not Kobe Bryant. So, all right, that does it for our best and worst of the weekend, presented by our friends over at Looper Auction and Realty. Appreciate them. And so we just got about 15 or so minutes here. We'll get to some of your chats, but we'll do some weekend headlines as well, presented by our friends over at BetSaracen, the #1 sports betting app in the state of Arkansas. Far and away, not even close. So all the NBA playoff action that's going on, whether it's the UFC fights that end up happening, the Razorback baseball, college baseball, MLB, anything, they have it all. Spreads, money lines, parlays, all that great stuff, as well as some specials that they have. So check them out today by going to BetSaracen.com or download the app on your iPhone or on your Android. It is BetSaracen. We'll get to your chats, but a few Razorback things of note real quick. Shout out to the Razorback softball team. I meant to put that in my best, but shout out to them, #2 in the country. So, man, getting it done. They of course, coming off of winning and beating Texas A&M, which I'm glad they did. I'm glad Arkansas did not get swept against A&M in every sport. So they did beat Texas A&M, but shout out to them for being #2 and really playing some great softball. And also, too, Arkansas did pick up a wide receiver in the transfer portal over the weekend with Andy Jean, who is from Miami, 6'1", 184 pounds. He was originally at Florida. He was also at Pitt. He was a redshirt freshman last year at Florida, but he saw one game action. Second year on campus. One game action, but he transferred to Pitt following the season, but now he transferred. Now he's coming to Arkansas. So either way, I'm not going to sit here and pretend like this is a game-changing thing. He may be good. He may not be good. I don't know, but they are still getting closer to adding in all of their scholarships and everything for him. So
better than John Cook, in my opinion.
Well, it's funny, Curtis. I was just about to say, this reminds me very much of in the December, January window when we kept being like, oh, could they get this cool player? And then like they sign a player from that position who is not as cool. And you're like, oh, I guess they didn't get that cool player. And then you see, I think it was today we saw John Cook projected to go to Was it Washington?
Syracuse, I think.
No, he's Syracuse. He's from Washington. Yeah, Syracuse with that coach, that up and coming coach that we have learned is cool.
That's right. But Cook comes with baggage though, right? So like I kid, but I'm really not upset about, if that doesn't work out for Arkansas. Truly not. Talented dude, but it's like does a risk outweigh the reward, so anyway.
Yeah. And also too, I wanted to throw this out there. Just something that bothers me. Is something going on with Kentucky basketball where they're just having players and people like, okay.
Yes.
I keep getting retweets from, the guys at KSR or whoever, that all these Kentucky players or commits or signees or whoever just really being over the top. Like, we love this place. It's so great. It's the best thing ever. The Kentucky fans are amazing. And I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
If you want to do it sparingly and here and there to make it look legit, okay. But when you do it this way, I'm like, all right, how much you guys getting paid for this stuff? Like, come on, man.
They need to be a little bit more strategic about it. But yeah, like when it's all of them at once, and it's like, okay, come on. Like you guys went to a Kentucky baseball game or whatever. Like I'm sure it was cool. Yeah, I mean, so it's a really good fan base, but come on now. And it's every single one of them. Just like I'm floored. Never in my wildest dreams could I have imagined a better experience than I had today in heaven on earth. And it's just like, wow, it's impressive that they all felt that way. But,
John, I think I was talking to you about this the other day. You remember whenever they first did that like one Arkansas NIL collective thing back in like 2022. This was in June 2022. It was like the first ever thing they announced that like the players were doing something, and every single player on the football team posted this little message that was like, I am here to announce blah, blah, blah. Insert this, insert quote from that. I truly believe in our fan base. Whoop big. Or I'm like, oh, damn. And I remember like that was like my least favorite Arkansas example of everyone doing the spam tweet.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're going to do that, fine. But if you're going to do it, make sure you execute it in the way, because I know a lot of people are stupid, but most people are not stupid, where if they see, I would say this if it was Arkansas doing it. If Cal had all of his players just tweeting out all this stuff, I'm like, okay, guys, settle down, relax. Like it's just weird.
We get authenticity. We get Nick Pringle misspelling Razorback, and we still love it.
That's right.
Hey, at least they should do like Mustard Staff and record a different video. Yeah. Oh, we're living the life. We're living the life. It's time or whatever.
Nothing like a nice charcuterie board.
Yeah, at least we get to see that you were the one saying these things. You didn't copy and paste the text.
Right? Yes. That's all we'd ask for. All right, so let's get to your chats, folks. Let's see a few of them. Ryan comes in. Chances on getting Jameer Watkins?
Low.
It's kind of what I felt too, but I just wanted to make sure.
For Carter Knox.
Right.
Oh man. Let's see. Double H says, shave my head and shave my face with a razor for the first time in 5 years. It's a new season. 0-0. He's talking about baseball. So okay.
Should I shave the stash? You think it's time to shave the stash?
Yeah. Something's got to change.
No more stash for me? You think it's time for me to grow up for real?
No. And but here's the thing. If you do shave the stash and they still lose to Texas, then we're just gonna have to kill you. Sorry. It's just gonna sacrifice you.
It's clearly the next step.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, fair enough. I can't remember the last time I shaved the stash, but it's been a while. But I remember the last time I did it, y'all shamed me on the show.
Yeah. No, people wouldn't shame anybody for ever changing or anything about our physical appearances. They don't pay attention to those things. Let's see. Sweet Arkansas gal said, Curtis, did you go to the Bulldog restaurant for strawberry shortcake when you lived in McCrory?
Absolutely. Yeah. No, I would do that all the time. And most of the time it would be my mom just kind of, give me the keys to the car. It's like, oh yeah, go to Cersei and go crazy. You can go up there and walk around the JC Penney or something. We don't have that in McCrory, but when you come home, you got to bring me a pulled pork sandwich and strawberry shortcake from Bulldog. That was like the trade-off. So did that all the time.
Well, that's what we should, when he's talking about doing like a tour day Arkansas in the summertime or something, we're going to have to do a live show from McCrory because we hear so much about it. Like we all had that meeting on Friday, with a friend of ours, and there was connections there to McCrory as well. It's like,
out of nowhere.
Everybody knows about that place. So yeah, we're gonna have to go down there. Let's see. Also, where was it at? Oh, James said, SI just released the latest NBA mock drafts. Fland is at 29, Thero at 43, no knocks.
To this, I respond, good.
That feels right. Yeah.
Where
to the person who sent that, where was Watkins? So was Watkins on there or not? That's what I want to know.
Report back, James Tucker.
Yeah, let us know, James.
Yeah, James Tucker. Let us know, because you're playing producer for a couple of seconds real quick. So let us know. Let's see. Also, Big KG says, do you guys think this has affected Coach Cal and his recruiting, though? Talking about the NIL.
The players thing?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, because Cal doesn't do shit like that.
True.
Yeah.
And also with Cal, nobody's just going to want to leave willingly anyways. They're not going to get a better deal than what John Tyson's going to pay them. So it's not even a factor.
Cal, people crawl here through, the desert to get here. They're not going to leave here. Then
the reverse Eddie Sutton.
Yeah. This is the mecca of college basketball. Arkansas is. That's. I think.
No, though. No, though. To answer the question, it really won't. For sure.
No, it's not going to happen. Cody says, why do I feel like TeSlaa was underused at Arkansas? Armstrong is definitely a gamer type. Congrats to Jackson too. Happy for those guys. I mean, you could pick your poison.
Why? Because he was wide receiver 4 behind Ty Broden and Isaiah Satania, who I think Arkansas fans also think is buns.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
that would be because he was drafted in the 3rd round and only had like 300 yards. That'd probably be it.
Yeah, and that's the unfortunate thing is you saw shades of like what he could do. I think it was the A&M game this past year where he had that big play, and it's just that's the frustrating thing because if he ends up having a great NFL career, not saying that this guy had a great NFL career, but you guys remember Cody Hollister? It's gonna be one of those things where you're like, how you didn't even play here and you're in the NFL getting like 7 years,
That's good, Cody Hollister or Isaac TeSlaa is good Cody Hollister. That's what that is.
Yeah. That's how I'm going to look at it. It's like, I mean, I hope he does really well, but then if he does really well, I'm going to be like, what were y'all doing? Come on now. Let's see. Finch says, figured Andrew would appreciate this since going to see us versus Vandy and watching on TV. My son talked me into a solid red Rawlings heart of the hide for Bybee and a bone saber because Aloys used them.
I guess that's the type of glove Bybee uses in the sports equipment. Sometimes especially with bats, they'll be like, "This is the torpedo. This is the BB," or whatever. You're like, okay,
bone saber sounds like the kind of bat I would want to swing.
I think was that the bat that Aloy was talking about on that video the other day when he was mic'd up? I'm sure y'all saw that. That was great content before the weekend was ruined. It was like just Vahiba Aloy on their practice day and at Florida, and that's where we talked about that. Right. But yeah, he was talking about some bat, and he's like, best bat I've ever used. He's like, it's crazy. I think it must have been the bone saber.
Yeah, I guess so. Cause I was reading that. I was like, I know that this is equipment, but I don't know what. I mean, that's why he said figured Andrew would appreciate it because I'm like, I am not up to the equipment stuff,
dude. I remember when I was a kid. Sorry, just the last thing on baseball equipment. The Cat 7. There's like Cat 6, Cat 7 Marucci bat. They're now on like Cat 473. It's crazy.
I know. It's like I feel like when the bat I probably used in Little League has been like it might as well just be a stick. Like just going out there with like just a big like wooden pole, and then compared to what they do every single year. So, shout out to Quinn. I'm sorry, Mr. Super Chat, Quinn. My bad. He said, I just hope they figure out how to keep the Olympic sports because I love watching college track and field. He's talking about the scholarships and all of that. So
yeah.
I think listen, they better keep track and field. Arkansas, because Arkansas, where are they going to win titles in if Arkansas has to do something with track and field?
We're going to see a lot of not track and field, but some of the smaller sports like that get cut, and it's going to suck. Like you'll see like the tennis and golfs or swimmings in certain places. I'm not saying at Arkansas, but around the country, we'll probably see a lot of that, and that sucks.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, because I mean, like so many of these athletic departments are so dependent on on football, basically just football. A lot of them, and so if we're going to start living in a world where all the money really does get distributed and funneled that way, it's going to be rough times.
Yeah, and that was my whole point. I was trying to make when we were talking about. I was like, all these people that are saying no, after the players just get this, they need this, they need this, they need this. They're going to be the same ones that get pissed off when these schools start eliminating these sports. They're going to be like, oh, God, how could you do that? I mean, it matters. You just wrote. It's like, yes, it's like this when you do these are the consequences from stuff like this. It sucks, but I mean, unfortunately, that might end up happening. So let's just hope that it doesn't. Tanner also says, Andrew, do you know why DVH brought in Jimenez in the 7th, up 7, and burnt him for the weekend? And then the hook was unbelievably quick on cheese.
Honestly, I'm a little like, I was a little bit, the Jimenez situation was a little bit weird. At the time, though, saying they weren't up 7 when he came in. It was the 7th inning. I think it was like maybe 6th or 7th inning, and there was 2 runners on and 1 out, and they were up 6, which isn't a save situation necessarily, but like 1 pitch away, 1 Gabe Gaggle mistake, it's a 6-3 game, in which case you're going to him anyway. I think they went into Saturday thinking like, we have to win this game. Their plan going into the game was probably Wood for 2, Gaggle for 4, Jimenez for 3, or like some version of that. And it played out pretty close to how they envisioned it, with Wood going 3. I think Gaggle went 3 1/3, and then Jimenez went 2 2/3. It just sucks that the pitch count, like it ended up like, once they used.
Never fails. Right when he's in the middle of it too. So bad. Well, at least it's at the end of the show. Okay, so we got him back. Finish your point, Andrew.
I feel like I kind of made it, but I was just basically like, it would have been nice if they had only had to use him for like 1 inning and then could have brought him back the next day. But they went in Saturday needing to win. They went in with a game plan to use those 3 guys. They used them. They were going to have to use other guys to win the series either way. Right. Really what should happen is the hook on Shees was short. And I think combined with not having Jimenez is why it's even weirder. But I think knowing that Carson Wiggins was going to hurt his elbow, knowing that Ben Bybee was going to not pitch well for the first time in SEC play, Dave would probably have let Shees go an inning or 2 more if he could replay it.
All right, so we got just a few more questions here in chats, so we appreciate it. But like this one comes from Jacoda. I thought this was fascinating. I meant to bring it up, but he said that should Quinn Ewers have gone back to college and transferred, considering what happened with his NFL draft?
Yeah, I think so.
He would have made way more money.
No,
he'd have been a great volunteer.
You know what honestly would have been great is if I think he would have gone to Ole Miss. I think he would have gone to Ole Miss, man. I just something in my bones makes me feel like Quinn Ewers would be a Lane Kiffin guy. So, but if that's the case, then I'm glad he went, because I didn't want to see him again. But still, Linnell says, why can't Boogie be our shooter? Who's to say he wouldn't be more consistent, motivated with another year under his belt? Just saying that would be crazy backcourt.
Because he's going to play in the NBA. That's why.
Well, I think someone was discussing like if he came back, I assume, but
well, he probably could be, I mean, if he came back, he would be. And that's one of the reasons why to me, it's not just that Arkansas kind of sucked as a 3-point shooting team last year and the year before and the year before and the year before and the year before and the year before. But it's also that the guys that you did have shooting them and making them are all gone, with the exception of Carter Knox, like all of them. Z, Nelly, and Boogie made all your threes at a decent percentage last year. You had Carter that was lower volume but really good in the last month, 6 weeks of the season. You had DJ that's he had a little bit of volume there, but nobody's going to call him a good shooter. And then all you have coming in is one freshman with a profile as a shooter. None of your transfer additions, knockdown threes or whatever. So it's like there's a very real world where Arkansas could be a worse shooting team than this year in volume and percentage, and you don't want that. So I really hope that they wind up getting a shooter, and if it was Boogie, that'd be cool. Not going to happen. He's going to be in the league, but they do need to address that. And if they don't, not that John Calipari cares, but he ain't getting an A+ for the roster build from this guy, not from the pot at the palace, man. You got to address those weaknesses too, even when all the human polls and projections and the computers are like consensus on Arkansas being really, really good, even if they don't add another piece. I still think they got some stuff they got to address if they're really going to sell me on the Final Four roster.
Come on, Curtis. You don't grade on a curve or anything? Like, you're not
man. You're not going to get that around here.
You've been the worst teacher in college. Let's see. A couple more. Jacob, our LinkedIn listener and watcher. He says, talking about baseball, he's like, most concerning thing is that they've been inconsistent by a variety of team talent in the SEC, whether at home or on the road. This will be the story of the postseason with varied levels of talent, especially in the regionals.
Yeah, no, I guess this is a fair point. Although I will say they crush cans pretty well. It's mostly just harder for them to win against better teams, but that's also the case for everybody. And it would help. It helps that they have the Vanderbilt and Ole Miss series in their back pocket, where you saw them. Like Vanderbilt has a top 4 pitching staff in the SEC, and Arkansas hit better against them than they did against Florida. But as a bottom 4, like it is kind of weird. But it probably gives you a little bit of confidence seeing them actually, and they've been competitive in all these games. It's not like they've failed to match the level of talent. They just have lost like 5 or 6 close games in a matter of like 12 days.
Yeah. Real quick, just like this from Chakotay said, very well written message, makes sense coming from LinkedIn. It's like, that's the type of chat we don't get the cesspool crap in on our LinkedIn streams. It's usually from Twitter or YouTube. So
if you hire someone from LinkedIn, you better check their chat history.
Yeah, you better make sure they haven't been putting any nonsense in the stream. Let's see. Rod says, what about Ian Jackson?
Well, Ian Jackson's going to play for Rick Pitino. And so what Rick Pitino did was looked back at his team this year that won the Big East regular season and tournament title and got a 2 seed and thought, what did we suck at and where could we get better? Oh, we were really, really bad at shooting the basketball. Then he went out and got a bunch of shooters. And he also got dogs that fit the mold of what he has built, and kind of his DNA. So I think they've done a really, really good job of building their roster up, and Ian Jackson's going to do a good job over there for sure.
They may have gotten dogs, but did they get effing dogs like Landon Jackson? Like that's a big difference there.
Yeah.
So, and final chat here from Jeff. He says you have to at least shout out David Walker from Stuttgart, Arkansas, getting drafted. I know he played at UCA, but I believe he started SAU. Yeah, it was the highest player from UCA to ever get drafted, so that was a cool thing. So
nice.
What round was he in? Do we know?
I think it was the 3rd or 4th
before Shadeur, because I remember us talking about it in the car driving.
I think it was the 3rd one. I think it was the 3rd one there. So, but all right, guys, any final thoughts before we roll out here for the day?
No, sir.
Woo pig.
All right. That'll do it for us here at Inside Arkansas. I appreciate each and every one of you listening in and watching into us here at Inside Arkansas. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel. You can also find our podcast wherever podcasts are found, whether it's Inside Arkansas Live, Pod at the Palace, or the Bombastic Podcast. Follow us on social media at Inside Arkansas, and check out our website, InsideArkansas.com, for all the latest and greatest up-to-date information on all things Razorback. So for Andrew Ellis and Curtis Wilkerson, I'm John Neighbors. Same sports show, same sports channel, tomorrow at noon. Have a great rest of your day, everybody. We'll see you then.